According to business ethics, ethics are able to bring out self-conscious emotions, which either drive individuals and companies to adhere to societal standards or to disregard them. In terms of food waste and other environmental issues, can raise feelings of guilt and moral duty to want to combat food waste. This could lead people and companies to create the virtue of managing waste. The global volume of food waste is estimated at 1.6 billion tons of primary product equivalents. Total food wastage for the edible part of this amounts to 1.3 billion tons. And a low percentage of all food wastage is composted. Much of it ends up in landfills and represents a large part of municipal solid waste.
Business ethics has a very long history. It dates back to Hammurabi, but we can also see traces of it in the 10 Commandments in the Torah. So the first perspective we can look at in terms of economic ethics is Holman's perspective of economic ethics. Here he says that people are homo economicus. That means people want to maximize their economy. This means that sometimes they have to do things that are maybe not perceived ethical. The second perspective is governance ethics. Here he says that companies have an economic channel and an ethical channel, but you have to be able to take into account ethics when you're talking about the economy. Third perspective we will discuss is Wieland's integrated ethics. Here he says we have an economic rationality and an ethical rationality, but we also have a mix of the two in the socioeconomic rationality. So regardless which perspective you take, I think we can all agree that we as consumers and as companies are all responsible for food waste and all need to try to combat it. Today we're going to discuss with 5 distinct scholars who will give us some more information about food waste. Hi everyone, so I am here with Martyna, our expert on Poland and environmental issues. So Martyna, please tell me, what is the situation like in Poland with food waste?
Alright, so the latest data, including Eurostat, shows that there's like 235 kilograms of food is wasted only by Polish people in a year. The economic activity gives total about 7 million tons. Poland takes the 5th place in the EU for food being wasted. So for the whole EU, there's average is like 173 kilograms per person. So a total of 88 million tons of wasted foods in the whole United Union.
So thank you. And what about the environmental issues?
Yeah, so currently it is estimated that there's like 25 to 30% of the total food produced is lost or wasted. So this translates into 8 to 10% of global CO2 equivalent emission. So each kilogram of food being wasted also means that there is water wasted, that there is wasted fertilizers, wasted human work.
Okay, so I have one more question. Do you know how much water is being wasted for the different food groups?
Yes, so for example, to make a loaf of bread, we need to use 462 liters of water. And for example, to produce 2.2 kilograms of beef, we need 9,500 kilos of water.
Wow.
Liters.
Crazy. Liters, yeah, that's crazy. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I just want to say that I think that food waste is ethical, environmental, and economic problem that already reached a global scale.
Thank you so much.
Thank you also.
Thank you. So now we are with our expert Buse, who will talk about the finances and what companies can do. So Buse, please tell me something about the costs and what food waste is.
Hello, Justyna, thank you so much for the interview with me. I would like to say that food waste is like unsupplied food which is thrown away with unconsciousness and kind of habits. And whenever we just talk about food waste, we can say that whenever we are just leaving on the plate something in the restaurant, or we are just buying too much for unnecessary food, can cause in global way $940 billion in the world. And I would say that food costs is actually kind of need to be educated the people for that in the schools, in the families, and I think that's therefore we can just remove this problem.
So thank you, Buse. And what can companies actually do about it?
Companies can do three ways. It's like goal, measure, and action. First of all, we can do it, for example, certain a goal, choose a goal for that. I would suggest you to take a look at the Nestle project, which they are having project in Africa in order to prevent food waste and water. So these are the goals, and measurements also very important. We can check the statistics and also some organization statistics as well, and to be understanding what is going on. And an action part, we have to make a deal with the states and or some organizations that we are going to have projects for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so now let's take a trip around the world and see what different continents are doing to combat food waste. First, let's start with Asia. We have two really good companies. We have Good for Food and Ugly Food. Good for Food is a company that helps commercial kitchens in reducing the food waste. They have developed the first smart dustbin, where actually it measures the amount of food you're throwing away. Then we also have Ugly Food, which is kind of similar to what we have in Europe, where there are ugly foods that are maybe looking differently than regular foods, and they are being thrown away usually. So this company saves these foods and sells them at a discounted price. In Europe, we have two really good companies, Too Good To Go, which we will show you later on, and Toast Ale. Toast Ale is a great company because it's for beer drinkers who want to have crafted beer, but it's made out of surplus food. In the Americas, we have a company called Render, which actually creates savory drinks made out of food, such as pickles, an upcycled pickle brine, and leftover quinoa. We also have this company called Coffee Cherry Company, which sounds like what the name says. It makes coffee out of the cherry beans that are usually thrown away. Okay, we have two companies in Australia, Bring Me Home, which is very similar to Good To Go, which we will show later on, and also Reground, which actually collects coffee, chaff, and soft plastics from businesses, and it helps them recycle them in the community gardens or actually recycles them by themselves. In Africa, we have a very exciting company called Cold Hubs. As you know, many people in Africa did not have access to refrigeration. So these cold hubs were created where people can store their food in order to freeze it and to preserve it for a longer period of time, and they're available in the communities in Africa. We also have a company called Justyna, which provides you with quick and fresh food to meet your local demands.
Too Good To Go app is a way to get involved in fighting food waste. All you have to do is download it, log on, and get saving perfectly good surplus food from any of your local stores. It's always a surprise at a great price.
Okay guys, so I just picked my bag from Too Good To Go, and this is a surprise, so you can see what I got. And this is all only for 14 zlotys. Normally it would cost around 30 zlotys, but with the app for food waste, it's much cheaper.
Food waste occurs in many various contexts in our day-to-day life. It is said that around 1.6 billion tons of food were thrown away each year, which equals to 1/3 of food produced all over the world. This can be even enough to feed 3 billion people and amount to $1.2 trillion. You may consider that waste takes place mostly in retail and consumption area, but what is more concerning is the huge food waste taking place during the entire food producing chain. It occurs from beginning of the chain, from the farms, processing and drying to inappropriate storage, distribution until the end of the usage by consumers. During its preparation for consumption, some of them cannot be used due to the way of the state of food. Now let me narrow it down and give you some examples of countries. In Europe, all of the food wasted could have been consumed by 200 million people, especially in the United Kingdom. Household waste around 6.7 million tons of food annually, which is equal to 32% of the total 21.7 million tons of food that was purchased. In Denmark, 0.7 million tons of food in the supply chain is wasted. In the United States of America, 30% to 40% of food is wasted every year, which runs up to 40 million tons of food. When it comes to industrialized countries in Asia, like China, Japan, and South Korea, these countries produce around 28% of food worldwide. The food waste in China could feed almost 100 million people. Countries of South and Southeastern Asia are responsible for 25% of food waste worldwide. In Australia, food waste costs about $10 billion annually, which is around 7.3 million tons of food, and it is highest wasted food per capita, more than 300 kilograms. In Africa, we also face a severe food waste situation, which is somewhat similar to food waste per capita to South Asia and Southeastern Asia, at around 6 to 11 kilograms annually. Food waste within Africa could feed around 300 million people. In this region, 40% losses happen at post-harvest and processing level. Because of the food waste situation I mentioned above, researchers show that annual cost of food will be increasing to $1.5 trillion, which amount to 2.1 billion tons by 2030.
Hello, my name is Felix Heller, and today I will explain what we can do about food waste. There are several possibilities for individual states and companies to avoid food waste. There are 4 simple rules to avoid food waste. The first rule is think twice before you are throwing something away. The second rule is always create a shopping list. The third rule is freeze your products. And the last rule is store your food correctly. Let's come to the possibilities for states to avoid food waste. One option for states is to ban food waste in supermarkets. For example, France did. Another possibility for states is that citizens have to pay a recycling fee for their waste. This fee depends on the amount of the waste. For example, South Korea has reduced their food waste by 10% within 4 years. Companies such as supermarkets and restaurants can sell their products what have not been sold during the day, for example via the Too Good To Go app. This saves to reduce food waste. Values and virtues have an important meaning for everyone. People must be made aware that the nature, health and the world are suffering more and more from the high amount of food waste.
Food waste is often associated as an environmental issue, as an economic issue, but not always as an ethical issue from the beginning. But when we start to consider the amount of food that's being wasted while so many people can't afford it, it really brings up the injustice aspect of this as an ethical issue. Here on top, you can see a tracker with all the amount of food being lost or wasted, and as you can see, it really increases in a very fast pace, a very fast rate. So by the time you watch this video, this number is already way bigger than what it is right now. This number captures all stages of food production, from agriculture part up to consumption, the end stage. And it's really in the end stage which accounts most of this waste, up to 40%. And that's where is the household food waste, which is the most of it on this in the food chain. So in Europe, in EU, around 170 kilos is being wasted every year. And this number is bigger if we consider only Poland, because it's 235 kilos being wasted every year per person of food. So what's the impact? What's the impact of all this waste? So we all know about how bad the greenhouse gas is for the atmosphere, correct? Then it brings up the climate change part. And since the food waste accounts to 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions, and a big part of it is the food part, is in the food waste, which is the household included. And when we think about economic impact, we can simply take Poland as an example. These 235 kilos being wasted, if we translate in zloty, it would be 2,000. So 2,000 zloty every year is being wasted because of food. So why is it difficult to avoid that? Why is it still difficult? Why, with all those cons, it's still hard to convince people to do something about it? The main reason is because most of the household don't believe that they are wasting food. So those small actions of throwing away a bit of uneaten food, a piece of sandwich, a bit of rice, a bit of waste leftovers, they don't see as being wasting food because it's almost ending. So that's one of the biggest, one of the main reasons for this. And we can also talk about somehow losing culinary skills, because if we think about it, in the past, our grandparents, they were able to make everything with nothing. So whatever was available, they came up with something. Nowadays, you just throw out what you don't know how to use it. You simply throw out. And also the fast-paced lifestyle makes planning very difficult. So if everyone had enough time to plan your shopping, this number would definitely be different. But unfortunately, no one thinks about that. So I would ask you to check this website and somehow figure out what's your impact. What's your impact towards the environment? So there it is.
Okay, so thanks for listening, and we just want to give you 5 tips on what you can do as a consumer.
You can always think twice when you are buying some food, and always don't forget to make a shopping list.
Always store your food properly and freeze your food.
And lastly, make sure to share your food with family and friends or use an app or a Facebook group.